You're probably wondering why I'm sitting here in darkness. Well, part of the reason is the Cavaliers. But hold on. We are going to shed some light on what's wrong with the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is what we call the BDOT, the big dick of truth. Yes, that's right, folks. The big dick of truth. You know when you get it, it's gonna fucking hurt. However, the big dick of truth is something that I think everybody at one time or another needs in their life. I don't know what the hell it means, but the bottom line is this. It's one thing to get bullshit from the places that you're reading and accept bullshit answers from players, to ask them questions and have them give you stock answers to questions. The big dick of truth doesn't let anybody off the hook. In fact, the big dick of truth slaps people across the faces and knocks sense into their brains. You'll notice I don't have any co-host. And the reason I don't is because of the big dick of truth. It scares everybody off, almost as badly as the black cow of death, who remained back in Florida because I'm scared as shit to take him into an airplane, because the last time he flew on an airplane, the airplane went down. Of course, I wasn't with him on that trip. I found him in wreckage, and ever since I stayed off of planes. Here's the thing about the Cleveland Cavaliers. I want to go step by step, inch by inch, much like Niagara Falls and the Three Stooges. First, LeBron James. You know, I'm reading Terry Pluto in between fapping sessions, not my fapping sessions, Terry's fapping sessions. And it's like, you know, LeBron James should never just take one shot in 10 minutes. That's ridiculous. LeBron's got to man up. Hold on a sec. Do you want the truth, or do you want me to stroke you? Because today you're getting the big dick of truth. And the big dick of truth says that LeBron James intentionally didn't shoot the ball for the first 10 minutes. But I have a reason why. It's like, oh, did he throw this one like he threw the Celtics series all those years ago? No. LeBron James, honestly, no matter what he says, what he does, he doesn't know where he's going to play next year. Doesn't know. But I can tell you this. I know an interview when I see one. You know, I've been through enough interview processes when I was a younger cow, and joining me now is Tony the Calf. What's up, you fat fuck?
How you doing?
Good. I'm sorry. It's the Big Dick of Truth show.
It's going to be Big Dick of Truth show because I've got I'm about fed up with the NBA and it's bullshit, but I'll let you go with the Cavs first.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's the deal. I think LeBron James was giving an interview to all of the players that he may or may not be playing with next year. LeBron James said, I'm going to pass the ball off to these guys and give them wide open shots. And in their playoff game here at home, I'm going to see whether they can make them or not. And when they proceeded to clank one after another, by the time that Jordan Clarkson, they managed to finally pull a pin out of his ass by attaching a tractor to it. He was so fucking tight. By the time Rodney Dudd woke up, by the time that Kevin Love got the ball for, the fourth time in the game, and by the time that everybody else, George Hill, stopped gator arming 3-foot shots, LeBron James had his answer. And you know something? If LeBron James weren't on this team, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs. And I think we pretty clearly saw that yesterday. Now, do I think that LeBron James is coming back to Cleveland? I'm not going to say that the game yesterday was indicative of the way the next game and the next game and the next game is going to go. But what I will say is all this bullshit talk that you're getting from people saying, we just weren't really ready. With the intensity, they brought more intensity to the game than we did. all of the bullshit answers that you allow players to give you in the locker room afterwards. I told you before the game I didn't like the excuse making on the part of Kevin Love before the series even began, questioning whether LeBron was going to be there next year. And after the game, I found things even more disturbing. Probably the most disturbing thing that I can think of here was the comment that Jordan Clarkson made. And these things don't really get noticed very much, but they should. When they asked him what happened out there, and he said, nervous, no. I was just thinking too much. I was thinking instead of doing. I was thinking about things instead of just doing them. Well, I want to ask a question. Actually, the big dick of truth wants to ask a question of Jordan Clarkson and you, Tony the Calf. Isn't that the definition of choking?
I think it is a little bit. I can see where Clarkson's coming from. They've never played him. Nance have never played in the playoffs before, so obviously there's going to be some sort of jitterbug.
He choked. He choked.
They choked.
He went passive. He didn't even take the ball to the hole. His shots weren't even close. He did you see him nurse a layup in where he guided the layup in? I mean, no, he was. Nance wasn't nervous. Nance played
saw the exact
fine.
Same thing in the Wolves game. Karl Anthony Towns was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, missing in action.
Young guys who've never played in the playoffs are caving under the pressure.
Yeah, well, Karl Anthony Towns, his picture showed up on a milk carton.
Oh, God.
Yeah, but you see, it says, well, we just weren't aggressive enough. Look, the reason you weren't aggressive enough, you were scared shitless. Now, Terry Pluto comes up with a comment as well that really bothers the bejeebers out of me. And his article basically asks questions. And what he says, in essence, is, I don't want to hear everybody's excuses about these players not having playoff experience. That's, because it's not true. Because Jeff Green's been in 39 playoff games and George Hill's been in 84. And it's like, you masturbating Christian, don't you understand? It's not about their experience. They don't win in the playoffs.
Right.
When was the last time you saw Jeff Green hoisting a trophy or George Hill hoisting a trophy? Didn't you notice George Hill was on the Pacers teams that we just wiped out in years past?
Right.
I mean, don't you realize that it's been a human caravan for Jeff Green playing God knows where, and that he didn't lead the Celtics or do anything when he was in Boston in the playoffs? It's right. And Rodney Dudd shot 26% in his 11 playoff games with the goddamn Utah Jazz.
Yep.
It isn't about experience, Terry, and that shouldn't even be the argument. It's about results.
It's about mentality. They're afraid. They get to the playoffs and they're afraid.
And LeBron needed an answer to the question, and he got an answer. And the answer is what I was afraid of before the game began, why I was expressing concern previously to the game. This is not something that I've just started saying now. I've been saying it all seasons, this excuse. Well, we didn't really play hard enough. It's like, wasn't the point that, we're not going to have to come back from 30 down like we tried to do against the 76ers in the playoffs. We're not going to do that in the playoffs. Bullshit. You see, habits are habits.
Yep.
Chemistry is chemistry. Some people overachieve, some people underachieve. This group is a bunch of underachievers.
Yep. And if you let those habits fester in the regular season, it's going to happen in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
It's like a drug addiction. If you don't kick it in the butt right away, it's going to kill you.
Now I'm getting something. I can't log into the video chat. Brian saying, what is it showing you, Brian? This is Brian Hallman. We wanted to get Brian in here. What is it showing you? Because sometimes it does goofy things like this. The best thing that I can do,
try restarting your computer because it's working fine for me.
Yeah, either try restarting your computer or send me your email address in the YouTube chat, Brian. If you can do that, I can invite you. And sometimes if I'm inviting somebody, it will connect better. Okay. So one thing, those are two things you can try. So I'll be looking in the chat room. It says error, cannot log in. All right. In that case, give me your email address and I'll copy it and I will invite you through the studio and see if that changes anything. I don't know why it does this, but this is YouTube, and obviously Tony was able to get in. It can be scattershot. Yeah. Google Hangouts can be a bit temperamental. So if you want to, all right, there we go. There's his email address. We're going to try this and see what happens.
Everybody send penis pictures to Brian Hall.
There you go. Let's troll him now. We got him where we want him. All right, add or email address. All right, and there we go. Invite. All right, I just posted an invitation to you, Brian. We'll see if that works. If that flashes an error, try restarting your computer and going again. That's trying again. That would be my the best information that I can give you. I wanted to start in the chat room too because Amsterdam is still working on Steven's father. Steven's not going to be here today, but he will be here on Friday. Mark Jones, I said it last Friday. This team is one superstar and the rest role players. We're still haunted by the Irving trade for a bag of rocks. That's not inaccurate.
Well, I still think Kevin Love's a superstar. As much as he's benefited greatly from LeBron James, if you never put him on LeBron James, he was still a superstar in Minnesota. So, I mean, the rest of the team, yeah, but I still think Kevin Love is a superstar in this league.
Well, now I was getting on Terry Pluto because it isn't enough to just swat down fans and say, if you're making the argument that these people just have no playoff experiences, you're wrong. That's not good enough. It's that the players have failed in their attempts in the playoffs or they haven't played in the playoffs. All right. But I don't remember Victor Oladipo making deep runs to the playoffs. And I definitely don't remember Sabonis doing it. And I definitely don't remember Bogdanovich doing it. And I don't remember Thaddeus Young doing it. The fact of the matter is there's no excuse. There is no excuse to allow the Indiana Pacers to do to the Cavaliers what they did on the Cavaliers home court. There is no excuse.
Right. And those guys have played in the playoffs before. I mean, Bogdanovich was with the Wizards and Thaddeus Young was with the Pacers and the 76ers and back when Doug Collins was running the team, but not enough to say that they're seasoned playoff vets. So,
well, there's more. There's more from the big dick of truth as well. Because Tyronn Lue is not
one of the worst professional sports coaches I've ever personally witnessed, and I've seen Les Steckel. I've seen Mike Tice, Brad Childress, Pat Shurmur. I mean, name them.
I mean, here's a couple things right off the bat. Ron Shane says Lou did not have his team. It's Lue. It's pronounced Lue.
Lue. Oh, God, not this again.
Yeah, he's a revolutionary basketball coach. Hi, Bronk. How you doing?
Oh, hey, my predictions, none of them came true on last time's show, did they?
Well, I mean, hey, that's part of the biz we're in, It's the business that we're in. Here's the deal with Lou. Lou says before the game, what are we going to do to stop Oladipo? Jeff Green is going to guard Oladipo. All right. No, I'm just repeating what Lou said. We're gonna try using his length against Oladipo. We come out on the floor and George Hill's guarding him. So he lies and then he puts the guy who looked more frightened than anybody, who couldn't move, and he actually gator-armed a 3-foot shot and came up 2 feet short. He looked terrified out there, didn't want to do anything, and he looked like a career playoff loser. He couldn't stop Oladipo. And all you had to do, I mean, and Lou said that it's not going to be, the defense Longobardi who's going to, it's me. In the playoffs, I take over the defense. Well,
oh my God.
The defense rested, okay? Perry Mason talk, the defense rested. If that's all you bring to the table, we're really fucked. Because the big dick of truth is swinging now in a pendular fashion and slapping you in the face, Ty Lue, because not only did you lie about who was going to play where, you had one thing to accomplish with your miracle playoff defense, and that was to stop a guy who averaged 23.6 points per game in the regular season, and you turned him into a 32-point scorer by allowing him to stare at the basket open from three-point range without anybody even near him. Congratulations. And when you tried to put other people on him, he drove around them, and you didn't have a plan. Not only that, I thought comets blazed through the sky quickly. Kyle Korver, I think a lot of fans didn't even realize he was in the game. If he's hurt that bad in his foot, why was he in the rotation? And this 10-man rotation thing, it looks like a game of 52 pickup.
It looked totally disorganized. And Hill and Hood, that was about the worst first quarter you could ever want. I mean, the minute they saw how badly they were playing, they should have brought in Calderon and J.R. Smith. Now, I want both of them to start instead of Hood and Hill. But that's
the problem that you have is I don't know who Calderon's going to guard because he's not going to guard Collison and he's not going to guard Oladipo.
Yeah, they're just going to blow right by him. He'll look like a fucking...
Yeah, but at least the ball will be controlled on the offensive end. I think Calderon would have been better than Hill and Hood. I mean,
but Calderon's been better all year than Hill, but that hasn't made a damn bit of difference to Ty Lue. I mean, Ty Lue is giving me chest pains. I mean, fuck this shit.
Yeah, that's not even funny, man.
No, but I'm saying, I mean, if you want anxiety out the AWE, it's like, go ahead, play 10 men. It's helter-skelter, scattershot stuff. There was no strategy.
Well, nobody was fouling Oladipo, were they? Why don't they give him a big fat foul every now and then?
Well, I mean, do something. A guy goes to the rim like that, make him pay, for God's sakes. Misney his ass, whatever it takes.
You know what? The Pacers were not guarding the ball. They were guarding the pass. How many passes got broken up, inside the key? How many passes got deflected?
Well, they decided that Kevin Love was not going to be a factor down low in that game. And they decided at the same time that Jeff Green was going to have to beat them from the perimeter.
Yeah,
all right.
They weren't guarding the ball, the Pacers. They were guarding the men.
Well, they were pressed up against the guards because our guards are slow. And not only that, LeBron did not have good quicks and good lift. I'm not going to absolve him either, because my belief is that his 82 game extravaganza is more in the greater interest of his next contract. See, I may be 33, but I got done playing 82 games this year. He acknowledged after the game, by the way, that after 44 minutes, he was, quote, tired, unquote. What he's tired of is teammates who can't put the ball in the hole when they're wide open. Jeff Green was bricking them. Rodney Dudd was bricking them. That's their history. Rodney Dudd looked disengaged. That's exactly what happened to him in Utah that got him booed off the court. He is, SAT word, laconic. Okay, that is his nature, and that is not what we need from a basketball player on the Cleveland Cavaliers.
He's a backup. He's not a starter.
And if you think that we have an answer by moving Jeff Green into the second string and moving J.R. Smith to the first string, and then suddenly, and Tristan Thompson's coming.
Oh, God, no. I mean, no.
Just as sure as Chloe knows that he was with another woman, he's coming. He's coming, Cleveland fans, and that's what's next. Lou will go back to pushing the same fucking buttons. I will bet you any amount of money that Tristan Thompson is going to be starting.
You're going to be right, but that would be the fucking wrong thing to do.
I mean, it's to me, it is not one thing or another. It is a multitude of things, and the problem with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I got it right in the chat room. you allow yourself to get pressured to trade a great basketball player for a bag of marbles, and then you bring in a bunch of old crippled people and you have to dissociate with them 3/4 of the way through the season and bring in whoever you can bring in. And the people you've brought in are, look, there's a reason why the Lakers sucked moose. And, Jordan Clarkson was one reason that they were a last place team, and that the time that he played and Larry Nance played with the Lakers, that the Lakers had their worst seasons in the history of the organization. I'm not saying they're poor basketball players, but their pedigree is from 20-win seasons, okay? That's their pedigree. You can't expect these people to just suddenly outperform their past. And then you've got other people like Rodney Dudd. And when they got rid of Rodney Dudd, man, Utah went off on a tear.
It did.
They were saying, thank you for Jay Crowder. Thank you for Jay Crowder, Cleveland, because he didn't fit in with you. But hey, we got rid of the laconic guy who's disengaged, who chokes and throws up bad shots and shoots 1 for 11 in important playoff games. Aren't we happy? Ooh la wee.
I mean, Shumpert would have been better than Hood and Hill yesterday. And that's saying a lot. That's saying, he could have at least gone 2 for 11 instead of 1 for 11.
So, I mean, right off the bat, and J.R. Smith scored, and he did what he was supposed to do, but you're not going to get that 2 games in a row from him because God only knows what's wrong with him. He
always plays better in games where we're behind, in no-hope games. So that's his thing, where he suddenly starts scoring when nobody else is because there's no pressure on him.
Look, I mean, there's Brian Shane saying Zizic has the best shooting percentage. Use him a little more. And the answer is, if you end up playing Zizic in your playoffs, then you might as well just put up the
white flag,
red flag of defeat.
Yeah, I saw Cavs fans on Twitter advocating, "Hey, put in Kendrick Perkins for a few minutes." Yeah, right.
You got plenty of years, Cleveland, to sit in the basement and watch, Zizic and watch Jetty Osman. You got a multitude of years to go 22-60 and watch these guys play. Don't wish it on us now, okay?
Yeah.
Not time for that. And I will tell you something else. LeBron is smart and he learns as he goes. And what he learned from the last go around is that he really alienated people with Le decision, that he just decided that this time around he's going to have firm footing on his reasons why he's leaving Cleveland, and he's going to point to what happens in these playoffs, and when these guys go up in flames and they miss shots that are wide open shots, he's going to say, this is the end of my career, and I want to play with a competitive squad. And just you saw what I saw. And no fan in Cleveland is going to disagree with LeBron James leaving if they continue to clank shots up the way they did in game 1. If Indiana defeats this team into the playoffs and that's the end of the season for the Cavaliers, nobody would blame LeBron James for moving on someplace else.
Oh, I would move.
Well, I mean, that's it. He's not going to be a villain. He's not going to be a bad guy. It's just going to be, hey, the future is not in Cleveland. All right. So
just thought I'd show you this. That's my ticket for being my first game at the Q. They gave me
which one was it?
The Capitals game 2 weeks ago, where we came back and won from 17 points.
No, you mean the Wizards game? Wizards. Yeah. I don't think you went to a hockey game.
In Cleveland, nonetheless.
No, the Bullets. It was the Baltimore Bullets.
Yeah. So, the big dick of truth wants to point out the absolute truth. LeBron's looking out for LeBron. You want to know whether he's going to be back in Cleveland. What you saw was an interview, and they failed the interview. That's number one. Number two, Lou doesn't have the foggiest notion of what a rotation is, and his idea of it is 52 pickup, and he is just going to literally, as best as he can, keep shuttling men in and out. why. They asked him, was Kyle Korver not in the game? And he said, well, I kind of wanted to go a little smaller and a little faster and get a little more aggressive. And it's like in 4 minutes, you came to the conclusion that, and then we never saw him again. Now we find out that he is not only hurting in his foot, but he's ill. He has a sickness as well.
Oh.
So,
he's got fever. He's got a fever for cowbell.
I got a fever. A cowbell. Yeah. So that's that. And no excuses. The Celtics managed to win without their two best players on the floor. And I'm not saying that any of them played well. The Wizards played like the Wizards do, which is always disappointing in the end. And the Celtics went through long spells of not scoring. Nothing surprising there. The teams that I saw in the East, let's be honest about the Pacers. They scored 98 points against the worst defense in the NBA. And it wasn't like they played the greatest game in their career.
They should have lost.
Bogdanovich was 5 for 17. Collison was 2 for 9. It's not like these guys played out of their minds. If you would have told me that Collison goes 2 for 9, Bogdanovich goes 5 for 17, I would sit and say, my God, we got it made. And if they'd scored 98 points, no way they're going to beat us.
That's right.
Yeah, we scored 8.
Those love 3-pointers at the beginning of the game would have gone in. Then it would have been probably a completely different game because everybody would have settled down, had their confidence, stayed at 4 points for about 8 minutes, and the Cavs couldn't score. Then everybody started panicking like little bitches with their head cut off.
Well, Gary is saying the Sixers, they came in the end.
Funny there.
You could just keep on saying the same shit over and over. Oh, they played harder when they were more ready than we were. But, the bottom line is you're making excuses. And the Indiana Pacers deserve to win the game, and they deserve to win the series if the Cavaliers continue to sleepwalk like they did. They don't scare anybody anymore. There is no 1-2 punch with Kyrie Irving and LeBron James with the ball in their hands. You're not going to stop the scoring of the Cavaliers because two guys can penetrate with the ball, kick out, and you had other guys who could put the ball in. Now you don't have any of that. Clarkson will not kick the ball out to save his soul, except if he's scared to shoot. And he'll try to shoot everything off balance because he's not an assist guy. He is strictly I got the ball, I got to score the ball guy. So we don't have a second player next to LeBron James who can handle the ball and go to the rack with impunity and either finish or kick out to somebody. This team is dead in the water, folks. I'm predicting a first-round failure and the end of LeBron James. And even if they were to somehow beat the Pacers, what point? I mean, there's no point. They're not going to go any further. I mean, it's kind of like those years where the Indians would get to the one-game playoff and you say to yourself, I'd rather have Cobb shut us down and have the Rays beat us in the one game than have to move on and get into a regular playoff series against a team that's just going to sweep our ass because we don't really belong there. The Cavaliers obviously belong technically in the playoffs, but compared to the way that they should have been playing all year, they don't belong. They don't. Not the high standards that we've seen from this organization. No. So go ahead, Tony. You wanted to say something about your NBA.
I'm just tired of superstars and their fucking treatment. Like I mentioned to you yesterday, Moo, on Twitter, that you guys shouldn't worry. The league is going to make up fucking calls for superstars. I saw it last night, and it wasn't the reason we lost. But James Harden, fucking a guy, Derrick Rose, and God bless Derrick Rose, for his faults. He's been a really good fucking bench scorer for us, in the limited time he's played. But Derrick Rose goes to defend James Harden on a 3. He lands 3 feet away from him. After Harden lands, after the ball goes in the rim, Harden flings his hands at Derrick Rose, makes contact with Derrick Rose's chest, and he called a foul on Derrick Rose. I'm fucking tired of it.
Yeah, well, we see it.
Calling games even. This is absurd. Or we're gonna have to start fucking as fans, assaulting referees, causing them physical fucking harm, as teaching them fucking lessons. Because this is obnoxious.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, it's not like the Rockets, the godly Rockets, came out and wiped everybody off their feet with their great play. They barely got by a Minnesota team when Minnesota's best young player didn't even show up to the game. Yeah. I mean, that should have been a Minnesota victory predicated on the way Houston played. So, for all the hype, I think they got to do what they got to do. So the headline will read that Harden wins game for Rockets. That's that MVP thing going,
Yeah.
But
it's absurd. Well, Chris Paul elbows Jeff Teague in the chin to get a rebound and no call. It's just, I'm tired of it. What point? What's the point for teams like Minnesota and Miami and to even fucking, why even bother trying? You're just gonna get close and you're gonna get fucked out of the game because superstar boy Harden or superstar LeBron James or fucking Dwayne Wade back in his prime are gonna get the calls.
Well, I'll tell you something, Tony. It isn't strictly a superstar league. It is who the NBA wants to anoint as a superstar, because LeBron James had the fewest free throw opportunities of any player in the NBA who went to the basket the percentage of times that he did. He did not get calls this year.
Right. That's because LeBron James' time as the league's boy is up.
That's right.
According to Commissioner Adam Silverstern, whatever the fuck is that?
Yeah, right. I mean, but that's the bottom line, is that they're going to get a whole new generation of new anointed superstars who will get all the calls. But I hate Harden too, because he kicks out, he flails, he initiates contact, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. It's that whole jump step, shoot a three, and then land and lean into the fucking guy, or jump into the player, and all of a sudden it's an automatic foul. I've seen Kevin Love do it. I've seen fucking.
But I watched Kevin Love do it, and Kevin Love didn't get the call.
Right.
See, it is a superstar league.
Because Kevin Love is a big, slow white guy.
Hey, how many times did LeBron get hit in the head during that game yesterday? And they
multiple
not fucking called.
I'm surprised they called the foul on Lance Stevenson when fucking.
Hey, Brian got in. How did you get in, Brian?
I finally found your invite, and I somehow it managed to work this time.
So we do know that the invite is a methodology, and I have you right now in the memory. So anytime you want to be on the program, I can invite you, and you don't have to go through this rigmarole of trying to figure out how to get in here.
I've got a comment about getting in. You have to use a clean YouTube session and go onto the live program and then get in. If you go in any other way into it and click on that link, it won't work. At least it doesn't work for me. With a new YouTube session and click on the live program, then click the link.
Wow.
That's how it works for me.
That's interesting. But, so Brian, I'm glad you've jumped in. I know you have something to say. Brian is of equine background. I'm of bovine.
Pegasus.
So that's right. So
actually, it's a centaur, but yeah.
Yeah, and Brian's as opinionated as I am, but he's on the other side of the political fence, so we won't go there. Brian and I have actually found a very
maybe not so much on starting useless fucking attacks against nuclear powers, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Brian and I have found a really comfortable middle zone, which I wish more liberals and conservatives could do. We focus on our common interests, and that's our utter disdain for Cleveland organizations that don't know what in the fuck they're doing. And that we can all agree that the government in one form or another doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. And we can also say just equally that Cleveland sports organizations seem lost in the mire. What is your point today, Brian, that you want to throw at me?
Well, actually, I would like to talk a little bit about, we don't really talk too much about college sports, but they just had the big spring practice at Ohio State. So, yes. Of course, everybody's enamored with the this freshman rookie kid, Tate Martell.
Yes.
So Haskins ended up completing like 11 of 19 or something, and Joe Burrow completed a bunch of passes and had a really nice, beautiful, long touchdown pass down the sideline to end the game. But I'm actually curious about to see what you think about this Chase Young kid.
Well, I haven't really. I'm going to be honest with you. Ohio State football is like the last thing on my mind this time of the year. No, I'm being honest. I'm being honest with you.
Yeah. For me, an Ohio State guy at all.
No, you were girded for this great argument, Brian. But the fact is, I got to keep in my head the draft situation, which is literally now around the corner. We got basketball season and baseball season. And the spring game of
still
Ohio
on the
State.
Anybody but Darnold kick, so I don't see him as anything more than a white Deshaun Kaiser.
Yeah. What's funny is nobody else is
not that good.
Ohio State spring day. Yeah, nobody else asked me about that. It comes and it goes, and honestly, it's kind of like one of those military parades. I mean, to me, the spring football thing is the show and tell thing. I show you, you write up what you're going to write up, and it is
for the fall. Just anybody who does root for the Buckeyes, just be prepared for another 2 quarterback bull crap.
Well,
but don't you think that's the way that the coach wants it? I mean, I've seen it no other way. I mean,
he had mild success with Leak and
Tim
Tebow 1 year, and then he thinks he can pull that crap out of his ass any old time, and it's like, no, you actually have to coach to win the game, which he only does after he loses and has no chance at the national title anymore. Then we can start coaching to win.
Well, I mean, to me, college football is a lot like college basketball in the sense that the way that you win, especially if you were a former SEC guy and you were able to pound Big Ten schools into oblivion with speed alone, it's different when you are now the head coach of a Big Ten school and you've got to have a running quarterback along with an appointed passing quarterback, because seemingly there isn't any such thing as somebody who can do both adequately. And, I think that he is going to rotate and shuffle because the play calling and everybody that's on his staff, this is the offense they run. And so this is what you're going to get. And it doesn't really it doesn't use the talent that you have, all this recruiting and everything else that they're doing to get certain types of players. The thing that's important is you need a big back who can just pound through this. I mean, this is Ohio State regularly. You got to have fast receiver who can run all the way down the field underneath the ball when your thrower's in, and you've got to have big fucking great offensive linemen to open up holes for option runs on the quarterback's part. And that's your whole offense. There's nothing in between. There's no real, ball movement. And with the whole Luke Fickell thing, and the defense has been spotty through the years at best. So I don't know. It's a recruiting game, but in the end, I thought the point of recruiting was to use all your strong pieces and to devise this great game plan around the guys that you draft or recruit. And instead, it seems to be the other way around. It's like we're going to make them fit into, Urban Meyer's system. And sometimes we don't get the best results.
I can make some comments about this. Urban Meyer is sort of like the Tito Francona of college football coaches, and he'll ram small pegs into square holes and shit like that all the time. I would say out of the 3 quarterbacks, Tate Martell has the most raw talent out of the 3. But whether he'll be used straight away, he's the youngest and least experienced. He probably won't be. We actually have an insider, a Moohead insider, that's got a nephew on the Ohio State team. Hammer's nephew's on.
Oh, really?
Guy by the name of Aaron Cox, linebacker, number 56. So I'm quite close to I've always been quite close to the program, but if you look at Meyer as Tito Francona, you'll see some of the pieces fall into place.
All right. As far as anything else, Brian, what else you want to throw out?
You had brought up Pluto Plutarski, which made me think of this. Todd Haley did a thing for, I think it was either Cleveland.com or ClevelandBrowns.com, where he was talking about Sam Rutigliano was one of his mentors. And he always gets letterhead, and it's Sam Rutigliano and Brian Sipe sitting in the dugout of the Indians at the old stadium.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, Haley, as your offensive coordinator, seems to be diametrically opposed to what Huey Jackson wants to do or has wanted to do in his career. I see that as a real odd couple, to say the least. I mean, basically Haley is coming from a racist city and Huey is a black coach. I mean, and it starts there and it gets worse after that. It's like Haley is a guy who loves to use his tight ends and loves the running game, and Huey loves the vertical passing game. And I don't see, and Haley is a guy who loves to have a running back who can carry the ball 25 times a game, and Huey doesn't run the ball 25 times a game. I don't get it. So I don't know how this is going to fit. I really don't. And what's interesting is you have two small wide receivers, right? I mean, you got one big wide receiver, and then you have Landry, who's only 5'11". You got Corey Coleman, who's 4'6", and then you have David Njoku, who is another big guy. But they only let him run 3 patterns last year. So I really don't know how this is going to work, and I don't see how Carlos Hyde shores up the running game for the Cleveland Browns. I don't see that either.
Right.
Well, the thing with Todd Haley is he really gets abusive with the quarterbacks. Like,
oh, that's true.
I keep telling you about how he really would constantly rip the shit out of Kurt Warner, who had already, like I said in the comments, had already won a Super Bowl and played in another one. Todd Haley hadn't done shit, and he's just lambasting him all over the sideline.
He's 1 year too late, Brian. I mean, I would have loved to have seen Haley take on Deshaun Kaiser because somebody needed to.
See, and that's the problem with one of these kids going at number one. You know that if Haley really sinks his claws into him, forget it. They don't have the mental fortitude to handle it, other than maybe Josh Rosen, who will tell him to go fuck himself.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, Ben Roethlisberger sure as hell didn't like him. I mean, that goes without saying. Now, Tony, before you fall asleep,
I kept focusing on him, and he wasn't saying anything. I just thought that was really weird.
Amsterdam's got a hard on for me or something. I don't know.
Amsterdam has a hard on for furniture. Don't get excited about it.
Big sofa.
Well, that and the movie Airplane.
Yeah, you like gladiator movies. Yeah, I know.
I think you guys are going to get Allen at 1, but I tell you, the draft can't come soon enough. I'm just, let me tell you, for the 70 millionth time, what we're going to do, we're going to draft this guy, and then we'll go 2-14, but it'll be progress.
You know what?
The Cavs are still playing when the draft is on. That's all
I saw something that had to be the ultimate sign of this whole draft thing is going on way in too protracted a form. And it was the mock draft of mock trade draft. Did you see this?
I've seen it.
I mean, it's like, a draft that is all 32 teams making trades. No, I mean, what the fuck is? I mean, you want to talk about mental masturbation? What are we wasting our time with this for?
What the fuck?
This is the problem with the 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's
You
I
have
can
to
see
fill
Bill
the dead air
Walton.
with something.
I can see Bill Walton going, "Why are we even doing this? I don't even understand this."
Unbelievable.
Where's my weed?
God
I
almighty.
never even got my 12-speed back in Portland.
Or his backpack.
Remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They
won
they
when they
took
won
that from him. Yeah.
They won the NBA championship in Portland for the first time ever. And he's standing up there, his big redheaded dumb ass. And as a redhead, he embarrasses the hell out of me. He's standing up there and goes, "Yeah, no, to the guy who stole my 10-speed off my balcony, I really like it back." It's like, you fucking moron.
Just one time when they would put him on TV, I wanted like somebody like like Marv Albert, who they would pair with him to just to hit him broadside, like, "So what was Patty Hearst like?" You know, just to throw it at him.
Wow.
You know, let's just have a complete flashback to the SLA and Bill Walton's involvement with the Symbionese Liberation Army.
I just love when Bill Walton calls games. He just inserts random, like, he was calling like a college basketball game one time this year, and he goes, "Hey, has there ever been a player better than Detlef Schrempf?" And I'm like, where the fuck did that come from?
You know what it's like? It's like Dennis Miller, the comedian. Do
Yeah.
you remember Dennis
He
Miller
was
on Monday
awful.
Night Football?
Oh God, he was horrible.
Man.
That was the most horrifying thing. It was like, you know, Dennis Miller on Monday Night Football, and like you'd have what's his name? Al Michaels would say, you know, "This is going to be a tough one for the Bills to win," and Dennis Miller would be sitting there going, kind of like Archimedes in his final trial on the field.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you could just hear this gigantic fart going off, and you know, in the press box. It's like, what in the fuck is Dennis Miller talking about? You know, no, babe. It's like Eugene O'Neill said in in Morning Becomes Electra. You know, it was the theme of the whole story, man.
Oh,
It's like, you know, it's a fucking football game. Definitely is. All right, Tony, what do you want to say? Because you really look like you got to get something out of you. And really, I would recommend Roto-Rooter, but
good X-Lax will cure the trick. Anyways, no. No, I just want to say, I said what I wanted to say. I'm just tired of the draft talk. Can we please get to the season? I logged into Twitter this morning, and some NFL reporter for NFL.com or something said he heard some crazy trades being discussed, and that instantly made Browns fans go, "Oh, they're trading down to number 2, and New York's going to give Odell Beckham to us, and so we can take Josh Allen at number 2." And I'm like, just make it stop. Make it stop.
Well, it's you hear crazy trade, and you know, first of all, I kind of think of Ozzy Osbourne with a cold. Look, it's conceptual, folks. It's conceptual. Thank you. Thank you.
Going off
much.
the rails there, Mo.
Thank you.
Off the rails.
Driving me insane. Yeah.
That's not included.
So, Brian, what else do you have for us?
Let's see. You already covered the Cavaliers and the bulk of the Indians talk.
Yeah, how about them Indians? They didn't lose over the weekend.
God,
How about that?
You know, I do have something that I have kept in my hip pocket, and everybody is just going to die.
I think the Indians and the Twins should play every year in Puerto Rico because nobody wants to watch them otherwise.
Hey, quickly, by the way, we're now at 23 game suspensions because of weather. The Cubs Cardinals today got rained out or snowed out, and the Blue Jays, and I don't forget who they were playing. that game got canceled because a chunk of ice created a hole in the roof of Rogers Center. Metronome style. It's fucking unbelievable.
Do you know they were playing that "My Heart Will Go On" song while it happened? It was really weird, like a recreation. Oh, here's Stephen Rose. He left me Messenger. He goes, "Sorry, I didn't make your show, Mr. Moohead, but I will be on Friday's show. I won't be able to make today's show because I'm going to be at the movies." God, he sounds like Siskel and Ebert.
Thank you.
I'm going to write some questions that my dad has for you. No, I'm kidding. These are questions that he has.
Let me guess. The movie you're going to see is a double feature of Ghost Dad.
Yeah, does he really exist? Is he like Tony DeCap's girlfriend, just referred to, but doesn't really happen? Doesn't really.
His favorite TV show is Father Murphy. This
Let me
could
tell
go
you,
on and on and on.
He's very, very depressed about that guy from What's Your Major Malfunction, Private?
Oh yeah.
His name was passing away. Yep.
Everybody's dead. Everybody's dead.
Oh wait, Ernie died?
Yeah, Ernie died.
A major malfunction guy died. He's got a major malfunction.
Die?
Yesterday morning.
Yeah.
Really? What did he die of?
A major malfunction.
Thank you. That is really cold. That is just beyond.
Thank you. I'm glad to be.
Did it say what the cause of death was?
I haven't seen anything.
I don't know.
I hope he didn't get shot in the stomach by a crazy guy with a rifle in the lavatory.
Maybe
that would be a horrible way to go. No, he's going to ask me these questions 3 or the other side.
Some guy named Pyle, I think, had input.
Private Pyle. I don't know what that was all about. All right. What do you think of all the cancellations in Major League Baseball games?
It sucks.
And this is, I say this because this is what Brian just brought up.
He died from complications due to pneumonia.
Ooh,
wow. How old was he?
74.
That's all.
Yep.
Wow. Well, he was the best drill sergeant.
Yeah, he had a lung malfunction.
He was an actual drill sergeant.
Yeah, he was. He was actually. He was the best in the movies. He was better than William Sutton on Gomer Pyle.
Shazam!
Moving a little to the left there, Pyle.
God.
Back home again in India.
No, make him drink the milk and shut the fuck up. Yeah. God damn. I heard him sing that one more time. You know that the last time that he performed that, all the cars turned around and drove out. I mean, you know, it's like, oh my God, where'd they all go? The race isn't going to happen this year. All right, here we go. I think it's a joke. I think Major League Baseball, this is a good example of why the season shouldn't be a 162 game side. And it could happen at the end of the year just as easily as it does in the beginning of the year.
You know what? Why don't they start the season on Jackie Robinson Day? Because that's when Jackie Robinson started the season.
Well, I mean, that's almost as good as Colin Kaepernick comparing himself to Jackie Robinson.
Did you see the thing about the Indians selling Chief Wahoo hats with Jackie Robinson stickers on the side of it? Seriously.
Well, I mean, the whole thing has just become so meaningless.
Well, but why don't they? I still don't understand why the Indians don't have, like, you can have your Jackie Robinson bullshit, but we also had Larry Doby, who actually started before Jackie Robinson.
Well, they actually
just didn't do it in goddamn New York.
No, they had the Larry Doby statue, and then they ended up moving it to the back of the team bus.
Back of the bus, yeah. They moved it to the back.
God almighty. So that the white guy, Jim Thome, can be up there.
Yeah.
Like, God, is it my imagination, or does the Thome statue keep getting bigger every year? God damn. Yeah. Next question from Steven's father. Do you think the Pacers can ultimately defeat the Cavs? Yes. I think I made that clear because I don't really believe Cleveland's going to wake up because they haven't woken up all year. And if they can't,
some real thought-provoking questions here.
yeah, okay.
I can see why you weigh that.
Okay, he mailed it in. What can I tell you?
Literally.
They fuck you at the door.
Literally,
Bill.
Who said that?
Wasn't me. I think it was Brian Holman.
It was the equine. All right.
The archer. Ping.
Also, his final question. What's mom making for dinner tonight? No, I'm sorry. That was.
How do I get Stormy Daniels' phone number? No.
It's like, what type output this season do you expect from your draft picks, regardless of who you take? Now, how can I answer? That's impossible. Well, what kind of output do I expect? All right.
Marquise Mingo output.
All right. If it's
if we get a quarterback, it should be. Let's hope for at least a 500 record.
If it's a quarterback, no, it's 0 snaps. That's the output that we're going to get.
Well, I thought we were talking about career.
No, I think
we're talking about career. Then
this year.
Let's just hope for 500 winning percentage.
Yeah, I guess that question could be taken multiple ways. What type output? Oh, no, wait a minute. Maybe it was a spell check error. What type of outfit do you expect your draft picks? No, that wouldn't be right. What type?
Well, nobody's going to outdress Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
Assless chat. I thought he meant this year, and I'm expecting nothing from the quarterback. If it's Saquon Barkley, I would expect him to rush for 800 yards. I'm going to use that as just a blind number because he's not going to get all the snaps, and because Carlos Hyde would have to do that. I would never in my life get a running back whose last name was Hyde because it's like I want people to know he's there. I don't
run.
Well, it's more like Jekyll and.
Yeah. As far as
a running back, who turns into Lyle Alzado?
It was funny. They were running a Lyle Alzado documentary.
He's dead. Everybody's dead.
Did you know that? Did you know? Why do I sound like Andy Rooney? Why is it I sound like Andy Rooney when I do that?
Oh Christ!
No, I'm not Christ. Although I could be voted that way. Damn near the Christ of CBS News.
Have you ever noticed if you sat long enough, you can feel your fingernails grow?
Yeah, exactly. Why is it a guy who says he's a Christian masturbates in front of the computer and writes about it in a book? As far as I don't know, output in the future, I think that any quarterback who gets drafted number 1 should have a 10-year career. And he should be a starting quarterback, and he should lead you to an over 500 record over those 10 years. Fair?
When did we end up getting out of Bernie? 8 seasons?
Well, we got him in 85, right? And then Belichick
93
negated him in 93, and then he went and kind of
they won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
4 good years out of those 8, though.
Didn't he finish in Miami, though?
Yes.
Yeah, it seems to be in. But that's what we got. 8 years out of Bernie, and Bernie was, inescapable. So, but I think that to justify a quarterback going 1, you would expect a 10-year career and an over 500 record, and beyond that, but of course, I don't think Andy Dalton was a number 1 selection, and I think Andy Dalton. How many years has Andy Dalton given the Bengals?
Oh,
is it 5 though? 5 or 6?
Oh, I mean, it may be more than that, and Flacco,
Yeah.
Flacco out of Delaware, and that's who, by the way, Josh Allen, if he were any good, would remind me of. I just don't. I'm praying to God if it's Josh Allen, I'm going to do an immediate go live on YouTube. And, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint a little face on the end of my penis. And I'm going to masturbate and make faces for half an hour.
Now that I want.
Well, we've already seen your ass, so you got to top that somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, I have to. I mean, I'm at a point now where viewership is getting lesser and lesser as baseball season goes on. I've got to whip the dick out. There's very little else I can do.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Yeah, I wonder if Steven's father watches, even though Steven's not here.
He's a myth, man. He doesn't exist.
The sheriff is in there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think all of us have pretty well said our piece. I'm going to go back to the chat room for the last time, and everyone's run away. And all Amsterdam's doing is just he has a Steven's father fetish.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it is. It's becoming a little bit scary, but we love you, Amsterdam. We understand the problems, and we love you. Ron Shane says we should stop the draft and auction them off like cattle. And I take that personally.
Yeah, it's a bit cattle-ish, isn't it?
I know. That's Amsterdam says, Moo, could Steven's father score higher on the wonder look than Jamarcus Russell? I mean, this Steven's father. I want to get Steven's father. There's Sylvia's mother, and then there's Steven's father. I want to get Stifler's dad on the air to prove that he exists.
On a slightly more serious note,
yes.
Have you ever heard anything back from Michelle?
Yes, I have. And a matter of fact, we've been going back and forth. This time of the year, because she picks up her kid at this time at school, she wanted to be on the program, but the problem is doing it at 6 o'clock is a problem. And 6 o'clock is the time that I find I have more co-hosts who are available to actually help out with the program, and it does make the show more fun for me. And fuck the viewers. I mean,
we are the viewers. We're the only ones.
That's
watching.
Right. I stopped thinking about people. All the viewers
doing the show at the same time for 17 years now. Why the fuck change?
Yeah, well, I went for a while where I was freelancing, but that got it was so confusing. Yeah, it was kind of confusing, and I like having a regular time, knowing where I'm going to be and what I'm doing. And it didn't work for Michelle right now. We're trying to get things to work out. I told her, look, if you can jump in the middle of the show, but she's had a lot of health problems. She's got to take care of her kid, and it's an ongoing process. But I did tell her today that I was not going to move the show from 6 o'clock because I'm really appreciative of the guys who are helping out here, Bronk and Tony and Brian and
we're helping,
and Stephen and Stephen's father and and even Matt. God bless Matt.
Matt's a nice guy.
Matt disappears like George Hood, man.
He kind of just hangs on and doesn't say much, but he's a nice guy.
No, great guy. Matt's a really good guy. And that saying, if I could be a fly on the wall, no.
Oh, be nice.
I know.
I think he's more like a church mouse.
Mr. Moohead bites the hand that feeds him, has for 14 years on this program.
Look, I can see the bite marks on here, man.
Is that big? Is that big lurker? You can't. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Lurking in the background.
No, the best one that we ever had. Who was that guy?
Spinner Dave?
The guy
Kevin Mack fan.
Yeah. What was his name? Kevin Mack fan.
Fuck the fucking Browns, motherfucker. Yeah.
Plays on the napkins.
Brian, that's it. I wanted to tell Brian before we get out of the way. This guy
Kevin
Mack fan said that he wrote diagrams of plays on napkins and gave them to the Cleveland Browns coaches. It's like, God, it was scary. I mean,
this was in between screaming about every other F word about
he was one of my best.
Here's a funny little Brown story about my dad. He and his buddies used to pick up the older tickets and they would wait until the color was the same because they were color coded for the games back in the 50s. Well, they would take the old stubs and say, oh, well, yeah, I went in through the other gate and they just tore it off and I had to go out to my car for something. So they'd sneak in and then they would slowly work their way. And the one game they got all the way down onto the field and they were standing right next to Lou Groza, and security was coming up to throw him out. And Lou Groza goes over and puts his arm around both of them and starts doing his leg stretches. And he goes, oh, these guys are fine. They're with the team. So he goes, enjoy the game, fellas. so they get to watch the game from the fucking sideline.
Wow.
That was back when the players had to take summer jobs to make money, because they were paid so little that they had to go out and paint houses during the summer.
Yeah, the same thing with Olympic athletes. They'd win the gold medal, and then a couple days later, they were back in the real estate office trying to sell land.
Correct.
Yeah, tough times, guys. I can't begin to express my thanks for you helping out on the show today, Tony. I mean, look, you were afraid that you were going to get blown out. It isn't like what happened to the San Antonio Spurs. Pops lost all control of that organization.
That was fun. Did you see his interview? That was hilarious.
Yeah, well, Kawhi Leonard, nowhere to be seen, traveling with the team. And you want to know what the worst one of all is? The Pelicans, who did win. Did you see what Boogie Cousins did?
No.
Boogie Cousins is, of course, rehabbing a torn ACL. When he was asked about coming with the team and traveling with the team, he stated that his representative said he couldn't fly because of the situation with his ACL. He didn't want to jeopardize, tarmac and the whole 9 yards and going on a plane. And then he put up on Instagram a picture of himself in a plane flying somewhere. I mean, it's like instant fucking cancer. I mean, I mean, can you imagine? It's like
hilarious.
What an asshole. So yeah. So we're gonna have plenty more to talk about as the playoffs continue. And but thanks again, everybody, for joining me. And we'll be back again on Friday. And you're all invited, believe me.
Oh wow.
All right, Bronk, thank you.
Well,
Horse, thank you. And Tony the Beast. Yep. It's dinner time. Stay away from Tony's hands and mouth. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. Back again on Friday, as always. And in passing, we say, hasta la vista, Pastorheads. Good night.